tell a lie on me. I won't tell the truth about you.
Since you want to tell the world lies about me, I'm going to tell the world the truth about you. I got my notes, so I'm looking at my notes. This says, the lie that she told, that I never wanted to hold any of my children when they were born. She tells this false story to everybody. She told my children's father some months ago, since I've been back here in Akron, she didn't want to hold none of her kids. She would tell the nurses, don't give the baby to me, give the baby to her. I told the nurses not to give my own baby to me and give the baby to Pearl. Let me tell you something. You were not there when any of my children were born except for Jaheim. And you came to the hospital after he was born. Not during. Because Pearl never supported anything that I had going on. Be it a birth of a baby, a car accident when I had to beg her to come up to the house. I almost got in a car accident. I'm not coming up there to see you. I'm not coming. I got work to do. Instead of just saying, I'm not coming. She wasn't supportive at all. Just, it's horrible. So, I'm going to tell the story. Since she said I didn't want to hold none of my children when they were born, let me tell you something. When I went to the hospital and I had Jaheim, let me tell you something. She was always in the middle of some shit when it came to her trying to come in between something that I had. Be it a relationship with somebody or something I got going on. When I had Jaheim, she was so adamant on me not allowing my baby dad to come to the hospital. She kept saying, you better not let that Negro come to the hospital. You better not let that Negro come to the hospital. And I mean it, and I mean it. So I told this story, the last video, I think. I went to, but I'm going to tell all three stories, birth stories of my children, since she said I told them, you weren't even there. When I woke up from anesthesia, you were holding my son, and I flipped out on you because you was holding my son. And because I didn't get to hold him first, and it pissed me off. That was after I had him. I was waking up for anesthesia, itching, and I turned to my right, and she was sitting in that rocking chair holding him at Huron Hospital. That don't sound like you was there to tell. First of all, if I'm in a C-section, I don't get to hold my own baby. They be in the NICU, or they, you know, put him in the little thing until I wake up and come to. So that's how she was around. She was around when Jaheim was born, but she wasn't there during the birth. I had all four of my children, now 4. I had C-section. Tanae, let's get into the birth of Tanae. You were not there when Tanae was born. Tanae was born in 2006. When I had Tanae, I lived on Elsinore with just me and Jaheim. I don't remember who I had watching Jaheim, but I went to the hospital. When I went to the hospital to give birth to Tanae, I walked to the hospital. Stomach contracting, contorting, my stomach was doing all kind of crazy stuff, and I had to keep taking breaks and sit at each bus stop that I saw on the way to the hospital because I was in pain and contracting. When I got there, I was dilated, and they kept me. You were not there for Tanae. When Tanae was born, Tanae stayed in the hospital for, I think, 2 or 3 weeks because of her breathing. When she stayed in the hospital for 2 or 3 weeks because of her breathing, I came right out of my hospital room to the NICU where she was. When I got to the NICU, she was hooked up to all these cords. I was freaking out anytime the machine was dee, 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 because her breathing was off and it would go off. You were not there. I was in pain. Did not have my Percocets, did not have my Tylenols, did not have my ibuprofen. Straight out of my recovery room, straight to the NICU. And I slept there on the couch. I did not wash my ass for 2 weeks. I didn't go to the house and change my clothes for 2 weeks. I didn't have a car seat for her to go home in after I had her. Anything. You weren't there, because you know how I know you weren't there? Because I definitely didn't have a car seat. You know where I got a car seat from? From the gift shop downstairs in Children's Hospital. Children's Baby Rainbow's Babies and Children's Hospital in Cleveland, Ohio. While I was at the hospital. I didn't call you to tell you I didn't have a car seat. No, I didn't have a car seat. I didn't have a bed for her to sleep in. I didn't have a car seat. I didn't have nothing. I took her home with just her. I didn't even have so much as a can of milk, a can of Similac. I didn't even know how to get to a WIC appointment to make sure she had milk. You were not there when Tanae was born, because I'm pretty sure if you were there, you would have made sure I had all of that. And made sure I got to where I could get all of that stuff for her. But you weren't there, so I can't even give you credit for that, because I'm pretty sure you would have made sure I had it, right? Right. You wouldn't have let me do that. But I was so young and dumb, I didn't know nothing. When I had Tanae, I had nothing. You were not there when Tanae was born. Because I would have remembered, the only person I saw that came in that NICU, when she was in the NICU, was Tanae's dad. Because my best friend, actually, my ex-best friend, Deasha DeBoer Smith, and Osha Clark were the two people that were in the room when Tanae was born. You know how I know? Because they both got in an argument. Deasha named my baby and they kicked Osha Clark out, and they was arguing while I was in labor, and they told them, you gotta leave. You girls both have to leave if you guys can't stop arguing. Because I was in labor and they were arguing over who was going to stay in the room. And whoever stayed in the room had to be 18 or over. And Deasha had to lie about her age. And Osha really was her age. Osha was like 20, 21. Osha Clark. And Osha Clark was so mad that she couldn't be in the room with me when the baby was born. To the point where she took her baby clothes that she had bought for Tanae. She took them and took them back. Because she was mad she couldn't be in the room. And Deasha ended up staying. Which I didn't care about that. But I didn't have nothing for Tanae. And that's how I know you wasn't there. Because them two was arguing in the labor and delivery room. And they kicked Osha out. And I didn't have a car seat for her. And I didn't have nowhere to go with her. I had my house on Elsinore. Didn't have a stove. Still didn't have a refrigerator. And I was fucked up. You wasn't there when Tanae was born. And I never could have. I couldn't possibly have told you, don't hand the baby to me. Hand the baby to her. Because Tanae went to the NICU. Oh, okay. Third baby. How could I have told you, don't hand the baby to me. Hand it to her. When Faith was born, I was here in Akron. You don't live here. Faith was born in Akron General. You don't live here. You know who was in the room when Faith was born? Deasha. Deasha DeBoer Smith, again, was driven down here to Akron to be with me when Faith was born. Deasha was with me when I attempted to abort Faith. I was so mad that I was still pregnant because the abortion clinic would not get rid of her. That I had to carry through the pregnancy. And me and Deasha were doing dangerous shit at my house to get rid of her. So there's no way you could have been around for Faith. We were popping birth control pills to get rid of her while she was in my stomach. We were doing things that could have potentially put me in harm's way and my life in harm's way to try to get rid of Faith after the abortion didn't go through. And this is me living in my truth. You were not there when Faith was born. And then you found out that I tried to abort her, and you went around telling people that I tried to abort her. But that's my story. It ain't for you to tell. You weren't there for neither children, for you to even tell a damn nurse. For me to even tell a damn nurse, don't give the baby to me, give the baby to her. Oh, another thing. After I had Jaheim, you was going to let me die. You don't tell people that, do you? When I had Jaheim, I had something called a spinal fucking headache. When I tell you, I came home like 5 days later, the headache was like, I would lay down and it was relieved. And when I would sit up, my head was banging and I would hear my heartbeat. and it was just this excruciating headache, and I could not stand up and care for my baby. If I was holding my baby, I had to hold my baby laying down, because that was the only way that the headache would cease, is if I was laying down. So I had went to Pearl and I told her, and this was with Jaheem because I was the only child that I was living with her with. And I said, my head hurt. My head hurt. She said, your head don't fucking hurt. You just don't want to deal with your baby. You don't want to take care of that damn baby. That's your problem. You got an excuse because you don't want to take care of your damn baby. She was going to let me die. I said, can you take me to the emergency room? I was crying. I was like, please, can you take me to the emergency room? I gotta be able to take care of Jaheem. Can you just take me to the emergency? She said, what you crying for? I said, I got a headache and there's something wrong. And she said, ain't nothing wrong with you. You just don't want to take care of the baby. So she took me to Huron. I went, checked in, and I asked them, could I lay on one of the gurneys in the hallway while I wait for them to have room ready to let me lay down? Because that was the only way that I had, like, relief from the headache. So then I went back there, and I told the doctor, I said, I don't know, when I lay down I feel better, but when I sit up my head hurt and I can hear my heartbeat and it hurts so bad. Can I stay laying down? It was like, yeah. And they said, did you say when you sit up your head hurts, sit up, stand up, or walk, your head hurt, and when you lay down it feel better? And I was like, yes. They was like, ooh, we know what that is. That's a spinal headache. Come to find out, you get something called a spinal headache when you get an epidural and you're moving too much. Jaheem was my first child, and all I knew was that it was a needle going in my back, and I kept jumping and moving around, and because it was just like so uncomfortable the way they were sticking that needle in my back. So I ended up with a spinal headache because I did not sit still during the epidural. They was like, okay, that was because you were moving too much. My doctor was Johnny Erkins. They was like, we got to do something called a spinal block or a spinal tap, one of the two. And the doctor described to me, she was like, what's wrong is you got too much fluid removed from your spine. We have to put it back. So she described it to me. She was like, the reason why is when you sit up, you have a headache, and when you lay down, it ceases. It's because, think of a water bottle half full. If the water bottle is sitting straight up and it's half full, you're going to see that it's half full. If you lay that half full bottle down, what happens? The water expands and goes from the head of the bottle of water to the foot of the water bottle. And now the fluid that you need from your spine to your brain is connected like it's supposed to be. That's why it soothes when it lays down. That's how she explained it to me. I remember it to a T. And I understood that terminology. And I was like, oh, I get it. Boom. They said if you hadn't got here sooner, you would have died. I did not know that. She was so busy thinking that I was trying to get out of taking care of my baby that she was going to let me die. Talking about she wasn't going to take me to the hospital. And she felt like I was trying to get out. No, bitch, this shit was hurting. Look up spinal headache. We're going to debunk this other false tales that she be telling. Hold on. Okay, I'm gonna explain to you her evil. She's an ignorant, evil person. She comes between relationships and builds a rapport of malice with them against me, telling them false stories. She did this with Charlene Troy, which was my first foster mom I ever had, my baby dad's mom, and my current child's father. So I'm gonna tell you what she does. Charlene Troy was my first foster mother that I ever had. Okay, and she used to call the house and check on me and talk to me about little stuff that I used to do when I was a little girl, like how I used to sit on her lap and have her read to me. And that's why how I'm so intelligent, because I always used to ask her to read to me. And she used to talk to me about how intelligent I was when I was a baby. So boom, one day she calls the house and her and Pearl get to talking. Me and Charlene had this relationship. I've had this relationship with her since I was a 3-year-old baby girl. Because she was my first foster mom. Straight from my birth giver. And she gets on the phone with Pearl. And she gets to telling Charlene, oh, Celestine is promiscuous. She doesn't know who any of her children's fathers are. Oh, I don't? I'm gonna show proof right here. Now, do that look like I don't know who my children's father is?
And
And then she told her I didn't want to go to school and I dropped out of school. Now, it is true that I dropped out of school, but why are you telling these people this?
Way out of pocket.
What are you hoping to do from telling people shit about me? What? So boom, she does this with my first foster mom that I had a relationship with, right? So when she did it, it would had to have been at a time that was unbeknownst to me. I didn't know nothing about it. I go to call and check on my foster mom one day. I pick up the phone. She says, I don't want anything to do with you. I heard you're promiscuous and you got different baby dads and you don't know who your children's fathers are and you dropped out of school and you're not doing well with life and you're just out here doing too much. And she was like, you know what I want you to do? I don't want to hear from you ever again until you get your life together. Are you serious right now? I've been knowing you since I was 3 years old. And you gonna sit here and listen to some gossip that she tell you about me. Okay. All right. Victim number 2. My baby dad's mom. So my baby dad's mom, we built a rapport when I was staying in Channelwood. And I basically allowed her to have a relationship with Jaheim. And we had this relationship going. We would talk about how he was doing. He would talk to her. She would come down and try to visit him and stuff like that. She would always send him gifts on his birthday. We always had a relationship like, how's Jaheim doing? Hey, can I speak to Jaheim? Can I talk to him? Can we have... all of that, right? I end up losing custody of my children, right? She gets on the phone with Beatrice and says, she's promiscuous. You know, she has 2 other children and she has 3 different baby dads and she just not this and that. Same thing she did with the first person. One day I called her because I was trying to file to get my kids back. And when you file to get your kids back, you have to know your children's father's address because they have to tell the children's father what's going on with the case. Even if you don't want nothing to do with them. If paternity test has been done, you have to tell that father, hey, I'm filing for your child. And you have to have an address for them. If you do not have an address for them, the court will charge you. The court will charge you money for them to find your baby daddy. So what I did was I called Beatrice and I said, hey, Miss Green, can you tell me a recent address for him or address for him? And I don't like what Pearl told me about you, but she said, I didn't know you had 2 other kids. I didn't tell her I had 2 other kids because it was none of her business. All I needed for her to worry about was her grandson. My other 2 kids were none of your business, lady. So she says, let me ask you a question. After you had Jaheim, why didn't you stop having children? Why did you keep having other kids?
Also, at that time,
why didn't you stop
Pearl
after you had
was
Jaheim?
forcing Beatrice to get my other 2 children who were not her grandchildren because she told Beatrice, if you're going to get one, you got to take all. If you do one for one, you got to do for the other. And those were not her grandchildren. So I was upset. No, she was upset at me because Pearl was forcing her to do that. And me, I agree that she shouldn't have had to do for the other 2 because those aren't her grandchildren. And I didn't like that Pearl was doing that. So I felt like Beatrice was upset with me and questioning my kid's existence because she was upset because she was made to do that and be responsible for 2 other kids. Whenever she would get Jaheim, she told her she had to take the other 2 children, which are not her grandchildren. And I didn't like that she would do that.
Lady, how would you feel if I asked you why your son was a deadbeat? Why didn't you raise him correctly? Why didn't you give him the ins and outs of being a father or the right examples of how to be a father? You'd feel some kind of way. And I wasn't never going to just have a baby by your bum son. Oh, I was livid because I felt like she was questioning my kid's existence. I didn't like that. And it pissed me off. I hung up for her. I didn't talk to her no more. To this day, my baby dad be saying, can you call my mom and have a relationship? I don't. First of all, Jaheim grown. Ain't no reason for me and Beatrice to have no relationship. It's over with now. He not a little boy no more. If he want to talk to his grandma, he can talk to his grandma. He got his own phone. If he want to talk to you, he can talk to you. He got his own phone. Y'all can call each other and they can call each other. I'm no longer in the middle. They grown. Hey. Victim number 3. My current children's father. Okay. So I lost custody of Ezekiel, which you guys know. And she's doing all this yah-yah talking and ha-ha-ha-ha. She didn't need Ezekiel because she didn't have these 3 and blase and talking shit. Full on shit. She didn't want her kids. Telling my child, she said something to the center. Baby boy, you just don't know. Baby boy, you. And he said her laughter was something else. It was almost like a laughter of evil victory. Like she was happy that I lost custody of Ezekiel. Ha 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 ha. Like almost as if karma, she got karma. Like her thinking that of me. And I'm like, this bitch sick. So now, when she told my baby dad the same story she told everybody else, when I had my kids, I never wanted to hold them, and I don't want my kids, and I never wanted them, and now when me and him argue, he be saying, you didn't want your kids anyway. You didn't. Now, before he had this conversation with Pearl, he never used to say that shit to me. And that was the third person. So anybody that I had a relationship with, she would get in there and build a rapport with them and be like, oh yeah, and then build it. And then they would cut me off and have a relationship with her. And that was her end goal. Fucked up, right? Next, let's move on. Alright, the next one. Now I'm going to put your business out there because you be putting my motherfucking business out there. Let's talk about how you're abusing the government, running a group home, and still on Section 8, bitch. Let's talk about it. Now, she runs this group home with, I think, 18 men in it, and she collects a part of that income. I don't know if she pocket that money or what she does with that. But she makes hell of a lot of money, and she runs this group home, and she's the proprietor of it. But it ain't in her name. I got proof. No, not proof of that it ain't in her name. One of her other kids that she adopted 4 other kids. And those 4 kids she adopted all ran away. It ain't me, it's her. And people be... So this message I'm gonna read to y'all says, damn, Pearl ain't got it in her no more. She treated you like shit. Now she paying for it. Because all the kids wanted to run away and my kids was trying to get away from her. She done lost all control. Do you keep in contact with your kids? Do they tell you anything that be going on with him? And I said, yes. Faith sent me this text. Because she wanted to get out of that house and she wanted to come be with, around her, me and her dad. And then he said, I definitely believe her. Pearl ain't right. She a real piece of shit. When she got that group home, that's when she really changed. She got real mean and nasty towards us and put that place way above us. I heard she didn't go to the lady funeral who gave her that place after she died. That pissed me off when I heard that. Now, the lady who gave her the facility passed away, and it remained in the lady's name, and it's still in the lady's name. Now, this lady, she gets money from all 18 residents. She gets paid from the government. And she gets Section 8. You're not supposed to get Section 8 if you run a business. If you're making a lot of money, you're not supposed to be on Section 8. You're supposed to give up your Section 8 and tell them that you're working out how much money you're making so you can pay for your own rent out in North Olmsted. Prime example. I was like, she making too much money. She ain't on no Section 8. My son had turned 18 because she slapped him in the face. And I'm going to show proof if I can find a video. If I can. Yes, she slapped my son in the face. And he got the fuck away from her. When she slapped him in the face and he left, he had been gone for about maybe like a year. And CSB called me. Just like what, before I moved into this apartment, asking me would I take him if I could. Well, what the fuck happened when they was minors and I kept filing to go down and get my kids and filing fees and going to go get custody of my kids through filing. Like, now y'all want me to take him? He grown now. But he didn't want to come live with him, but I told him I would get an apartment and put him on my lease. Just in case. So he don't be out here homeless if anything go fucked up with what he got going on. Boom. I goes down and fills out for an apartment to put him on my lease. You know what they told me? Do you know who Pearl Williams is? She has him on her Section 8. I said, Section 8? I said, she run a whole business and make buku money. She ain't on no Section 8. The lady said, well, it says here that she's on subsidy. And that would be double subsidy if I put him on my lease and she already got him on her lease. When he moved out of there, you were supposed to report that to Section 8 and let Section 8 know that he's no longer a resident there, so your voucher can get moved down. So she's illegally committing illegal fraud and collecting money from the government. Now clock that shit. Next, let's move on. And no, I ain't gonna tell that. But let's talk about her when she got custody of my kids. And this other bitch too. So I was supposed to give my kids to this Caucasian lady that I knew. That is now out in the records during the custody case of Ezekiel as someone I didn't know. I knew this lady and I trusted her, and I told her I wanted her to get my kids because that was the rapport I built with her. She was going to take custody of my children. We got in the courtroom and Keisha, y'all remember what? Keisha is supposed to be a sister to me. She's a stepsister. Well, no, they weren't even married. She was my mom's baby daddy's daughter, who my mom had 2 kids by that are right directly underneath me. We're stair steps in age. They're a year and 2 years younger than me. I'm the oldest. And Keisha, which is some kin to and linked to my biological family, is in court. Pearl is in the courtroom. We're in the lobby of the courtroom here on Dan Street. And I'm in the midst of losing custody. And I'm talking to the lady who I'm going to give the kids to. I made this promise to her that I would give her my kids to take care of them, because I knew she would follow the rules. And I knew if I wanted to go back and get my kids when I felt like I was ready to be a parent, she would have stepped up in court and said, yes, I feel she's ready to take care of her own children. She would have done that. Keisha got in my ear, which that's not somebody I'm dealing with today. And I wish I would have never did that. I wish I would have stood my ground and just said, fuck you. If you mad at me, you gonna be mad at me for giving them to this white lady. She said, you not gonna give these kids to no white lady over my dead body. You gonna give these kids to somebody you know. You know Pearl, and you gonna give them to her because you know her. You've known her since you was 17. You gonna give these kids to Pearl. So Pearl comes over and she said, I'm going to take them kids and you're going to give me custody and we going to do it this way. And she said, you stop that crying. I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you. She got custody of these kids. And when I tell you I didn't see them for 16 months, later on down the line, when shit was old and dried up, she told me, that guardian ad litem that was on your case wasn't for you. Well, she was in the best interest of the kids. And she told me, you know, you don't never have to let her see her children ever again. You should adopt them and then move away and not let her see them again. And that's why I didn't see them for 16 months, because she was plotting her exit. But then she found that she wanted to live life and gamble and run that group home. 16 months later, I went on a trucking trip with someone. I was dating someone and they took me all across the world. And he was a trucker. I was in his truck and I got a call from Keisha. Keisha said, where you at? I was like, I think I was in Texas or Arizona or something. I don't remember where we was at the time. And she was like, Pearl wants you to, she said she was going to give your kids for 2 weeks. When I tell you I cried because I haven't seen them in 16 months, it was just out the blue. She wanted to give them to me all of a sudden for 2 weeks. And I was not in the state. But when I got back, I was going to see if she would still give them to me. Now, then she started playing power trip when she would let me see them. I would ask her, can I see the kids? And she would say, no, you can't see them. And then she would hang up the phone. And then 3 days later, she would say, come get them this day and come bring them back this day. She would tell me no, and then 3 days later, call back with a date that she wanted me to get them and bring them back. The game she was doing was, if I call you and say, hey, can I come get them next week on the 15th? What she was doing was, that's taking my control. I'm going to tell her no, and then tell her when I can give her. I'm going to stay in control. So I'm going to tell her when she can get them, and I'm going to tell her no, she can't get them because she asking. So me asking was taking away her power for her to tell me yes, because I'm asking for something and she's giving me a yes. So she wanted to tell me no and then hang up and then have control, take back control by telling me when to get them. And she would do this every time I would ask for a visit, and I caught on to it and I started being hip to the game. And I would even tell my ex at the time, I would tell Juan, like, watch, she about to say no. And I would call and be like, can I get the kids on the 15th? No. I'm busy. I gotta work. And then she would hang up the phone. 3 days later, I'm chilling with my boo, my man. And he goes, I said, look who calling. He said, that's Pearl. I would answer and put it on speaker. I'll be like, watch this. Come get them this day and bring them back this day. I said, he was like, I done watched her do that to you twice. Why she be doing that? I said, because she like control. If I ask her to get my kids, that's me having control. For her to tell me yeah. So she'll tell me no and then call back and tell me when to get them and when to bring them back to take back her control. It's a power trip.
So then I started
I caught on to the shit she was doing.
Not being upset when she would tell me no, and I would wait 3 days for her to call back because I got hit to the game. And so that's what I would do, because I knew 3 days later she would call back once she told me no. And that was the game I had to play with her.
That was sick. She's never been supportive of me. Never. She wasn't there when Jaheim was born. She came after the fact. She wasn't there when any of my children was born. Matter of fact, after Faith was born, she came. Oh, let me tell y'all this. After I had Faith, I was fucked up. I got released out of the hospital. My dumb ass ain't go get the medicine, like the Percocets and stuff, and I couldn't walk. My baby was on the couch. My sister and my brother was there, and my other 2 kids was running around. I was crawling around on the floor because I could not stand up because I didn't have my Percocets so I could walk. And I didn't have a way to get my medicine for CVS. So Keisha got on the phone with Pearl, once again telling my business. Oh, she need help. We need to get down there and get her medicine. She don't got nobody to go get the medicine. So her and Pearl rode down there together. Keisha and Pearl rode together. They came to the house, and when they got to the house, she was like, let me see that little ugly monkey, talking about Faith. And at that time, Faith's vagina was black, but nothing else on her body was black. And I was like, why it look like that? I was like, that's weird. Is that a birth defect? So she was like, no, that's her skin. Her skin complexion ain't caught up to her body. And so then it caught up a few days later, but she was like, let me see that ugly monkey. And she took my baby and was holding my baby. And I had to lay there for like 15-20 minutes after they went and got my meds. And then she got on the stove and got to cooking. You know, she bragged about that after she did. Oh, I had to go over there and cook. Because she, dumbass, didn't even get up and go get her meds. She just came straight home from the hospital without nothing. I'm young. I don't know how to handle certain things. I'm only 21, 22 years old or something like that. Like, and at the time, I think my baby daddy was in jail. But he didn't even know that I was even pregnant with her. And it was just so crazy. So, like, I was fucked up. Like, that was after the fact. After Faith was born. And I called, well, I didn't call. I called Keisha to tell her what was going on, and Keisha called Pearl. I used to hate that. Why the fuck you keep calling her when I call you? You could have drove down here by yourself and helped me and went on back your way. Like, why you gotta call this bitch? And every time I would call Keisha, Keisha would call Pearl. It would get on my nerves. So, that was that. And she was just like never supportive. She came after the fact shit, what happened to me. And then when I got in a car accident a few years ago, she was like, I'm not coming up there to that hospital. I gotta work. She didn't give a fuck if I died in that car accident. I think she was hoping that I died. Because, like, I gotta tell you what's going on because you got custody of my kids. And if something happened to me, then who gonna tell the kids what happened? She didn't give a fuck. She said, I'm not coming. So that's my tea. I'm gonna clock on Miss Pearl. I hope y'all got all that interesting tea. Let me know in the comments what y'all feel about that. You know? And I'll see you on the next one. I'm out.